President Donald Trump is spending a lot of time explaining that more guns in the hands of the right people may be the answer to the attacks on our schools. He met today with Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull. You think they talked about the attack on the Florida school? Australia had a similar attack some years ago and then passed a very strict gun control measure. They haven't had an attack since then.
We certainly don't presume to provide a policy or political advice on that matter here. This is you have an amendment to your constitution which deals with gun ownership. You have a very, very different history, and I will focus on our own political arguments and debates, and wish you wise deliberation in your own.
And I have to add to that, they're very different countries with very different sets of problems. But I think we're well on the way to solving that horrible problem that happens far too often in the United States.
President Trump is taking shots at Officer Scott Peterson. He's the deputy sheriff stationed at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School when the shooting took place. Now, rather than charge inside with his weapon, the school resource officer stood outside and did nothing while the gunman shot students and faculty members.
He's trained his whole life. There's an example. But when it came time to get in there and do something, he didn't have the courage, or something happened. But he certainly did a poor job.
That deputy has now resigned rather than retire. Stopping the attacks on our schools was a big part of President Trump's closing speech at CPAC, the gathering today out at National Harbor. He wants guns inside the schools in the hands of trained personnel, including some teachers.
Don't be complacent. Okay, don't be complacent, because if they get in, they will repeal your tax cuts. They will put judges in that you wouldn't believe. They'll take away your Second Amendment, which we will never allow to happen. They'll take away your Second Amendment. Well-trained, gun-adept teachers and coaches and people that work in those buildings, people that were in the Marines for 20 years and retired, people in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, people that are adept with weaponry and with guns. They teach. I mean, I don't want to have 100 guards standing with rifles all over the school. You do a concealed carry permit.
You might recall that Donald Trump first addressed a CPAC crowd back in 2011. He was a reality TV star back then, making his first really big political speech. He walked onto the stage to the song For the Love of Money by the singing group the OJs, and then he hinted that he just might seek the Republican nomination for president.